What has surprised me a bit, though not too much, was that after the huge, disgraceful capitulation by Tsipras and the ΣΥΡΙΖΑ leadership, a majority of that leadership, the Podemos leaders were very supportive. They remained supportive of Tsipras. And surely, I mean, even purely from a immediate tactical point of view, that wasn't a very clever thing to do, because the whole of Europe saw what had happened. ΣΥΡΙΖΑ won a referendum to take on the EU, and within 24 hours of that victory, ΣΥΡΙΖΑ said, we're not going to do anything, we're going to capitulate, defying his own people and accepting the EU. So why the hell did Iglesias and Errejón, I can understand, he's a sort of deeply opportunist figure, but why did Iglesias at that point not say this is unacceptable?
It's a good question. I don't have a complete answer to that. I mean, I myself was very disappointed watching some of the TV programs that that Pablo hosts, where there was quite a long defense of the SYRIZA government and no real criticism. And
after the capitulation.
This was after the capitulation, and this was after SYRIZA got re-elected as well in September. And one of the things they said was, there's limits to what you can do as a government. Now, that's okay to draw that conclusion, as long as you're looking for a way of overcoming those limits. You know, Podemos, if it perhaps had more roots in the neighbourhoods and in the unions and in social movements, then it could use that relationship to encourage struggles, to act as a lever and back up a government bringing in contentious policies. But there wasn't a discussion about that. It was more of a pragmatic and a pessimistic discussion about the limits of how radical you could be in government. This was very disappointing. This was also before the turn towards some of the old rhetoric. I also think that there's a mistaken idea that the way of fighting the powers internationally, financial forces and leaders of the big states, is through alliances with other more or less left-wing states. And of course, even though SYRIZA is bringing in austerity, it would be seen to be a potential ally in that struggle. These kind of discussions have taken place in Latin America as well. This isn't a new debate.
No, but in Latin America, the big difference is that you did have, and you still do, three countries on very closely aligned: Venezuela, Bolivia, and Ecuador. This trio of countries was effectively the heart of Bolivarianism. Venezuela, of course, we know is under heavy pressure after the defeat, parliamentary defeat, but Ecuador and Bolivia are still there. And Brazil was never part of the Bolivarian movement in any case. So that was a deal to unite on many issues they made after they had come to power, not before, though the argument was being put forward, this is what we're going to do. As far as ΣΥΡΙΖΑ is concerned, it's the exact opposite. You know, basically, they capitulate without a struggle, without a fight. They don't look at any other alternatives. It now becomes clear, Varoufakis says it openly, that Tsipras really was shocked when they won. He thought they would lose the referendum. To be so behind your own people is sort of political bankruptcy, unless, you know, that's what you really wanted secretly, but then you enter the realms of conspiracy theory. The question is this, that given the scale of the capitulation, for Pablo Iglesias, who's an intelligent guy, not to see that, I think they're beginning to see it a bit more now, given the situation in Greece, which is like a EU colony. There's nothing they can do on their own.